looks like we're going to be live in a couple seconds. I'm excited to be here. Been a crazy week. It's always a crazy week for everybody, isn't it? And, oh, there I am. Can I hear myself? Live. Yep, I can hear myself. Amazing. Sorry. This is an interesting little dog and pony show, I have to say. But hello, live chat. How are you doing? Alright, let's kick this up a notch. And see? There I am with my pumpkin. This is a pumpkin I carved, and it's lit. And I only embarrassed myself a little by getting this all together, by knocking over this picture frame and knocking over my water. So, you know, only embarrassing myself a tad. Only a bit. But let's get this. Let's let everybody know what's going on. Wow, look at all these people in the chat. I'm excited to have you guys all here. I think this is going to be a cool episode. Lots to talk about. There's lots of movie news, lots of industry news. It seems to be like bigger animation news and then important industry news that people weren't talking about. Sorry, I gotta let the Patreon know. And it is live. Public. Boom. Let's let everybody know. Everywhere. And I think we have successfully done that. And cool. Oh, thank you, Paleo. That's very nice of Paleo. I just saw on Twitter he tweeted the thing. That's very nice of you, man. Thank you so much. All right. Here we go. Here we go. Let's not embarrass yourself too much, Jim. All right. So I hope you guys are all doing great. It's been a crazy week. This is the weekend before Halloween, so I guess everybody's getting ready for parties, or everybody's going to parties, or watching scary movies, or you're sitting here with me, which I think is probably cooler than most parties because you don't have to talk to anybody. You can just listen to me talk, I guess. Anyway, I don't know where I was going with that. That sounded funnier. Funnier in my head. Yes, this is the pumpkin. This is my pumpkin I carved, so I thought, hey, I have all the rights, so why not? And obviously Sophie carved a pumpkin. If you see the Instagram, she did the castle one. It was her idea. Oh, she didn't carve it because she's little, but and my wife did the other one. So check out my Instagram if you are not following me on said things. Let me check one more thing. Sorry, I feel like Paleo's watching this. Like Jim, get your shit together. I didn't know, Paleo, you're gonna be in Milwaukee next weekend. You should rewatch Wayne's World before you go. Anyway, so this is my pumpkin. I'd like to thank all of you for being here. Hi, Ryan Walterson. How are you doing? Hi, Paleo. Hi, everybody. Happy early birthday to Jordan. Oh, Jordan, your 20th birthday is at midnight. Oh my God. Well, thank you for being here right before your birthday. Damn, man. I didn't expect. Anyway, thank you very much. I hope you have a great birthday. All right, guys. So, let's get into all the big news this week. And I'm going to start off with, of course, the big headline thing, I guess, is Adventure Time. And this was kind of surprising because I think we all sort of thought, and like I joked on Twitter, but like for real, emotionally, I had sort of moved on. I had thought, oh, Adventure Time is, over because I watched the finale of Adventure Time a year ago. And so I didn't think we'd get anything new from Adventure Time. I thought we might eventually, but I didn't think we'd get something in 2020. So, basically, here's the deal. They're going to do 4 one-hour specials. two of which will air in 2020. They will be on HBO Max, which doesn't launch until March. I'll have more HBO Max news later in the show. But they're planning on doing two. They have not said which two, unless somebody like sort of knew. Somebody has more info than I do. But we do know which four they are doing. We have the names and descriptions, which I think is kind of surprising that they have that far ahead of it. It sounds like they're probably have them all done. They're just going to release them all slowly. Let me go through all that. The first one's called BMO. It's the description. This is on TV Line, which kind of was the thing that had the best story of it, frankly, and the most concise. BMO, which is, of course, about BMO. Each of these various specials will concentrate on a different kind of character, specifically. And then I see my man Vitor is in there. Thanks, Vitor. Thank you for the gym dog thing. Anyway, sorry. So, BMO... BMO is about the character of BMO, and in the description says, when there's a deadly space emergency in the farthest reaches of the galaxy, there's only one hero to call, and it's probably not BMO, except this time it is. In the poster that they released, he's wearing kind of a cowboy hat, so maybe that has something to do with it. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. The second one is called Obsidian. That's going to be with Marceline and Bubblegum. It's going to be about Marceline and Bubblegum journey to the imposing, beautiful Glass Kingdom and deep into the tumultuous past to prevent an earth-shaking catastrophe. Don't know what that means exactly, but that's one of them. The other one, so it's going to focus on Marceline and Bubblegum in that one. Wizard City is about Peppermint Butler starts over at the beginning as just another inexperienced wizard school student when mysterious events at the campus cast suspicion on Peppermint Butler and his checkered past. Can he muster the mystic arts in time to prove his innocence, which sounds like Harry Potter, but with Peppermint Butler, which frankly was something I thought Harry Potter was lacking, but honestly that sounds really cool. And then finally, the other one is Together Again. Finn and Jake reunite to discover their brotherly bond and embark on the most important adventure of their lives. Now, one of the things that I find most interesting about these specials is it kind of brings up an idea of that if you have a show that is not currently running, in longer seasons, you could bring it back for specials on an HBO Max, much like what they did with Rocko's Modern Life recently or Invader Zim, and kind of rejuvenate the fan base. Adventure Time, I think there was still a fan base there. They weren't really treating it very well, frankly, releasing those episodes. And I know people kind of got out of it, pretty much everyone who wasn't paleo. And no offense, paleo. But I think this is a way to rejuvenate the franchise and just kind of remind them like, hey, this is a thing, and then sell more merchandise and everything like that. Warner Brothers has done that, does that with their kind of animated movies, and I know they're very invested in using IP that isn't normally being used. That was the idea behind the Banana Splits movie corporately. So I think this could work for other animated shows like Codename Kids Next Door, like Steven Universe, things like that maybe don't want to do 20 episodes a season. I'm not saying I have any info about that or anything like that. I'm just saying that this hints at the idea of the possibility of more. And I think that could be actually really cool. And you don't have to play within the same time constraints that you formerly used to with these animated shows. I think this... I'm excited for this. I kind of wanted, believe it or not, I wanted like a whole new thing, the Adventure Time universe. I really wanted more, I really wanted more of like the world that we're not getting from any of this stuff before, and I think that could be really cool, frankly. Like get characters, because Adventure Time feels like such a large world. Like, why not, like, don't have it isolated like Star Wars does or something, where you have like the same characters over and over again. We could like get into like characters we've never seen before, and I think that could be really awesome. I would really like that, frankly. I mean, can you imagine like seeing like what else is going on, or the characters in the finale who were in the future? Like, I would like to see that. It could be like Transformers post the Transformers movie or something. Like, I think there's a lot you could do with the Adventure Time universe, and I would like to honestly see that. But these sound cool. I'm excited for them. But I am excited, like Paleo is saying in the chat, I am excited to see those characters again. I miss those characters to a certain degree, but it doesn't feel long enough. That feels very short. I sort of wish they said, hey, maybe we'll come back for streaming and sort of give us a bit of a clue about that, but they chose not to, I guess. So yeah, but that is the deal with the Adventure Time things they're premiering on HBO Max. It sounds like maybe at launch, but we don't have an actual date on any of that. We just know that we're getting 2 in 2020, so sometime between March and December, we will get 2 hour-long Adventure Time specials next year. All right, so the next thing is Hocus Pocus 2 is actually happening. There was like some TV movie reboot thing or something that I didn't watch and I don't know anything about, but this one is going to get the main cast back. Apparently, none of them have signed on, and to my understanding, none of them may have even been asked. They might have like come back. They might just. I know they've just hired a writer. They're just starting. I honestly wouldn't have revealed this so early. I would have like been like, "Hey, everyone's signed," but they haven't done that. So Disney Plus really wants to have as much nostalgia or brands coming at this as they possibly can, and they frankly need it if they really want to launch this thing. So I think Hocus Pocus 2 seemed like a good idea, and this being Halloween season, I guess they wanted to release some news on Hocus Pocus 2. Supposedly I imagine like if they can't get this together for next Halloween, it'll come out the Halloween after that. But if they can get Bette Midler, Kathy Najimy, and Sarah Jessica Parker back, as well as Thora Birch and other characters, I think that could work. I'm not a big Hocus Pocus fan. I like to actually watch actual horror movies on Halloween. I don't need to watch like these kind of hinted at horror films, although my daughter has been watching Nightmare Before Christmas a lot. And I'm fine with that one, but Hocus Pocus was never like my thing when I was a kid. I kind of rewatched it when I was older because I was like, was this a thing we all like? And I don't think I like it as much as everyone else, but I will admit I know Hocus Pocus 2 would be a big thing, and it sounds like it is at least in the planning stages. But honestly, they probably shouldn't have released any of this because they haven't written a script, by the way. They have hired a writer, and if I were them, I would have waited longer to release news until you had more of a thing. But I guess because Hocus Pocus is very high in the SEO right now, they wanted to do it. But yeah. All right, so next, SheRa Season 4 released a trailer this week. It's a cool trailer. I actually did not get to finish Season 3 because I watched it with my daughter Sophie, and she got kind of scared by the dimension smushing episode and started crying, and it was like this thing, and we talked about it. She was fine. But I've talked to other people who know that season. It didn't seem that appropriate for her. But watching this trailer, it seems like this is sort of like a rejuvenation of the show in a way. Not that was bad or anything. It just seems like a fresh start for them. And I might just like hop into Season 4 and not finish Season 3, mostly because I have no time to do basically anything. But I will probably hop into Season 4 with her. Because she really likes SheRa, and I really like SheRa. And I like the idea of, Glimmer is queen, and clearly people have died or something, moved on. Maybe they moved to a better neighborhood. I'm pretty sure they're dead. But it looks cool. I really am excited for it. I'm probably just going to start it and not finish Season 3 just because this is a show I watch with my daughter, and it'd be weird to not watch it with her because I think I've watched every episode with her. So it looks like a really good kind of fresh start. If this was a franchise, like a movie franchise, it's obviously a franchise. This would be the sequel that people go to without having seen like the last one or something. It looks like a good. Maybe it's not. Maybe you're all like, "There's so much lore, Jim. How could you do that?" But I think it looks cool, and I know they have a non-binary actor. Okay, is actor gendered? Because actor really is, according to some people, isn't gendered. But I'm not going to get into that debate really. But anyway. They are going to be in this show. I don't really know them or any of their work, but there was a lot of press about it. But I think SheRa Season 4 looks like a cool thing. It's coming out November 4th, which I believe is a Tuesday, same day as that Little Mermaid thing, if I'm correct. And it sounds really cool. And Niji Kitchu's here. Hey, what's up? I noticed you just appear. I love that. All right, fun fact. If you watch Baby Driver with headphones on, you can Okay, let's start over. Fun fact, if you watch Baby Driver with headphones on, you can experience whatever baby hears from his tinnitus to only hearing music on one ear. I didn't know that. That's cool. I'm going to have to rewatch Baby Driver. That's a good fun fact. That was a good, you started this off right. I'm going to, Red Bull for you. I opened, and I spilled some on my foot. You didn't need to know that. I should have pulled that off better. Okay. Man, that's cool. Did they mix it that? I guess they mixed it that way. Ugh, sorry. That's really cool. Okay, I'm gonna read up on that. I'm like, you just stopped the whole show. God damn. That was a good one. I didn't know that. That's cool. That's cool. All right, so but yeah, SheRa season 4 looks really great. I'm excited for it. Coming out that Tuesday. But thank you for the support and the super chat, Niji Kichu. All right, so I wanted to talk about the thing that. All right, so I don't know if everyone who watches this knows this, but I do actually listen to what you guys want me to talk about. There's obviously, I want to also talk about, the shows that the movie news that I want to talk about. I try to keep it kind of purely that, but it's, a long show, so I try to do what you guys want me to talk about as well. So if there's ever a news story you want me to, feel free to tweet at me, like, hey, could you cover this, or could you look into this? I haven't heard. If it's a huge story, you sort of don't need to, but honestly, sometimes you do, because it helps me feed out what to do. And a lot of people kept asking me, like, are you going to talk about how these older directors have been kind of talking about Marvel, from Martin Scorsese to Francis Ford Coppola, and I really wasn't, because I honestly had gotten sick of hearing movie podcasts and sites cover it so much. But when people were asking me, I did actually think about it, because I was like, well, what would I say? Because I kind of just got sick of this, because to give you some frame of reference from my perspective, I see all the time, like, bigger, quote-unquote, auteur, smarter directors will do this thing where they'll go, like, all, blockbusters are sort of stupid, and, they're not for intelligent people, and they'll make these big, grandiose statements to make them look incredibly smart or whatever. And I'm a part of, like, so many cinephile Facebook groups, and, go to so many sites, and there's always, like, once a week there's an article from, like, Inarritu said that, blockbusters are for stupid baby people, and only stupid baby people go to these movies and stuff like that. And people are like, oh, Inarritu's so smart. Like, look what he just said about Blockbuster. And when I was, like, 17, that was really cool. I'm not. I've been into movies for a long time, and it feels very boring when directors do this. When Scorsese doesn't do that a lot, so it was a little surprising that he said that about. And Coppola, I mean, Coppola, of course, was going to go to the extreme, although Peter Ramsey, who is the director of, one of the directors, of Spider-Verse, has said that Coppola did see Spider-Verse and actually liked it. So, but Coppola didn't actually say that. But I will say this. Okay, so I don't really talk about how I actually do have I have, like, cinephile cred. I did actually review every film directed by a classic Hollywood director, William Wellman. And so in a lot of those kind of weirder Facebook groups or podcasts, I can go on there and defend, basically, like, I'm not the animation guy, I'm not the pizza party person. I can exist in that world and prove myself. And so I know how that kind of world works. But I also am a deep lover of cinema and what cinema does, and how we have a connection to characters, and how we connect to those characters, and what makes cinema important, and what makes it matter for all of us. I made a deep what makes it matter for all of us, and how it connects to us. And a lot of that, and especially in Blockbuster, and if you want a big movie to hit, it's that we have a connection to character. And I made a video essay about that for Deep Focus called The Marvel Connection. And I was trying to make a good point. And then Paleo. Okay, I'll have a Red Bull for you, Paleo. Thank you for the super chat, Paleo. I mean, we all know Monster Trucks was the peak of cinema. Directors should just stop trying. Nothing will top that. Here, Paleo. Here. Okay. But anyway, this debate, Marvel has always been cinema. It always will be cinema. That's obviously what it's trying to do. These people aren't realizing that what works so well about the original Iron Man is that was a total character piece about your connection to him, which led and set a tone for the rest of the MCU. Superhero movies, when they started, sure, you wanted to see your, favorite superhero on the big screen. But that only works for about 2 minutes. I've been seeing superhero movies in the theaters way before the MCU, since I was a comic book kid, so I saw any superhero movie that ever existed just because it happened. And you would see them and go, yeah, that was a comic book movie. It stunk. But it wasn't until you got the Iron Mans and like you had actual decent comic book movies that started to turn. Certainly, they're amusement park things. Certainly, they're big blockbusters and huge movies. But at the same time, they are absolutely cinema. I don't care that it's not the cinema they grew up on. But when they were 7 and 8 and when they wanted to kick back and have a great time at the movies, they would do that. In fact, not to call Scorsese out on this, but the big movie for him was Duel in the Sun, which was a blockbuster in itself. It was considered a stupid, dumb blockbuster at the time. It was actually called Lust in the Dust, frankly. And so if he's going to call out the modern kind of versions of that, that's kind of bullshit, man. As well as Coppola, who, by the way, actually did direct a amusement park ride. So, like, you can't really, like, call people out on being amusement park rides when, like, you made Captain EO, you know, the most expensive one of its kind at the time. I think they're missing the point, and they're doing it because it's a big corporate thing, but they're not looking at what brings people to that big corporate thing. And just because something's a big corporate thing doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. I understand they're auteur big statement things, and there's kind of a classism in their auteurism, and they have to, you know, kind of pronounce that and show how much better they are. And sure, you know, Coppola's upset. Thank you, Austin Tinick. I mean, you change your name a lot. Jim putting them on blast. Thank you for the super chat. Here. Thank you for the support. That's very nice of you, as well as Paleo, from before. But this is, I'm so sick of directors doing that, and it's more typical than anything. The success of Joker, you shouldn't look on that as going like, oh yeah, well, I couldn't get Irishman made. Irishman costs 180, Joker costs 60. There's a huge difference, and that's a IP, that's a proven property that the Irishman isn't. Hollywood works in different ways now, and I'm sorry it hasn't worked out for these guys, but these guys also got to make had a decade to themselves to make whatever they wanted and got away with it. And in some case, I mean, Coppola, like, look at what Apocalypse Now gave him and everything like that. I think it's just like Hitchcock didn't like Spielberg, John Ford didn't like a lot of these guys. I think it's kind of lame. I don't need Scorsese to like big blockbuster Marvel movies. I just think it's like, what is the use of all of this? All he is doing is putting up kind of a fence in front of kids who probably won't see The Irishman now because they'll be like, fuck this guy. I think he thinks he's making a point, but the only point he's making, at the point where like the Joker has this huge Scorsese influence, all this cool stuff going on with him, he should be basking in it. He shouldn't be putting up kind of a fence in front of a new audience by doing this. And I find that to be the most upsetting thing, because I love Scorsese movies, and I don't like everyone going like, well, these made more money, this was better, look at this sort of thing. They just need to understand, like, let's just like get more people into more movies instead of hating on people for over talking about certain movies. That's not going to help cinema. We need to keep expanding things and growing with cinema, rather than going like, that cinema's bad, why don't you eat your peas and carrots? Why don't we just try to go, hey, you like Iron Man? Why don't you check out this thing instead of this stupid nonsense that's been going on? It's not helping anyone. And also, I don't need to hear what Ken Loach and Coppola and Scorsese and, you know, the ghost of Orson Welles or Stanley Kubrick. Like the jokes of it are fine, but like, please stop asking these great directors questions about this, because I'm honestly just sick of seeing the headlines. And that's probably all I'll say on it. I just don't think it's helping anything. I don't think it's helping them. It's not helping anything like that. So everybody needs to chill, basically. I don't know. I hope that made sense. Does that all make sense? I hope it does. I hope I did a good job ranting about this thing. I actually did really want to say something good, so I hope I did. Anyway, we're all in this together. Thank you, Louis PJ. I see BoJack coming up a lot. I really do like BoJack, by the way. I have not gotten to see the new episodes. I would like to see the rest of the episodes before it ends. I don't really have much to say on BoJack other than I plan to watch it soon. So, yeah. Sorry about that. I didn't say I was going to talk about BoJack, for the record. So, don't think I was, I guess. But I will when I see it. But it takes me a while to see things. I have my own stuff to see and all that, but I do eventually come around to BoJack. I don't think I'm as timely as most of you on that front. Okay, so the Star Wars trailer, the Star Wars Rise of Skywalker trailer came out this week, and then tickets went on sale, and I got a ticket. Yay, you didn't care. But anyway, guess what? Jim's seeing a Star Wars movie. But the trailer, I will say, was actually the first time the first time I really liked a Rise of Skywalker trailer. I was kind of like, oh, yeah, that looks neat. Okay, And I didn't feel like it had like that big trailer earlier on. Like it's kind of late for the trailer that sort of grabs everyone's attention. And I was a little disappointed that they didn't get their shit together earlier with this. I understand they're doing The Mandalorian and Disney's got a lot going on right now. But like we should have had this trailer in the summer. This shouldn't have happened. We should have had like a trailer after this or something, but I did find it really exciting. I'm more excited for this movie from this trailer. I got to like talk to people. I got to talk to friends of mine who like Star Wars. We're all excited. It was fun seeing all the ships when the Millennium Falcon went up. This was like the first one that really got me totally excited. I know that Carrie Fisher is first billed as she should. I'm curious what's going to happen with Rey. Kylo looks awesome. It looks like a cool trailer, but we really don't know the plot in true J.J. Abrams fashion. We'll probably find out a week before. But I'm still excited, but it doesn't feel as... It feels, of all of the three of this trilogy, probably the least hyped. And I think because of the Last Jedi thing, but I honestly think they really did... This is the fastest of the trilogies. The other ones Lucas took 3 years between because Star Wars films always have production problems. There's always a lot going into them. There's always all these problems. So he would kind of want breaks, and they like didn't do that. And I think maybe they like burned the public out a little bit. I think like we shouldn't be getting them so quickly. And then we have another fun fact from Niji Kishu. Another Edgar Wright one, interestingly enough. Fun fact, in Scott Pilgrim's Sex Bob-ombs amps say lame brand at the beginning and say sweet brand by the end. the Kajugichi, twins amps say twin. That's interesting. I didn't know that. I like the brand thing. That's kind of cool. Man, you're making me really... I knew Edgar Wright had a lot of cool things in there, but you're really... Oh, thank you. Thank you for the super chat, Niji Kichu. You're really making me think about that. Anyway, but thank you again for the support. I think it was a cool trailer. Got me excited to see Star Wars and made me go, oh, right, I'm buying a ticket. But I kind of would like this campaign to really rev up. I'm really curious what this movie's going to be and how they're going to wrap it up. And it is the longest Star Wars movie, apparently. So get ready for that. I guess there'll be lots of pee break jokes when it comes out and stuff. Next up is Earth to Bed. That's not the name of it. I wrote in my script the wrong name. All right, so there's a new Jim Henson Co. puppet talk show that's going to be on Disney Plus. That was just announced this week. It is called Earth to Ned. It sounds actually really cool. It's basically about an alien who was supposed to take over Earth and then decided to just it got pop culture obsessed and now has a talk show where with its friends it will interview celebrities. It's interesting that the puppet stuff is now the Muppet stuff and Jim Henson stuff, including like the Muppets Now kind of thing, are trying to go back to the talk show roots that Jim Henson really like kind of broke out of before he had the Muppet Show and Sesame Street and stuff. So I think this is actually a good way to rejuvenate the brand, and it sounds actually really cool to me. I'm definitely excited for that, and it sounds like a fun show. I don't know these characters, so I think that'll be a big part of it. Brian Henson is executive producing, and I think it'll be really cool. There seems to be a lot of streaming services opening up to more puppet stuff, from Dark Crystal to Muppets Now to this. I'm really excited for this. I know Ryan Walterson definitely is. I like your version. I hope the show is like Space Ghost Coast to Coast or Comedy Bang Bang with puppets. And you're right, they also do look like Farscape things, but they look cool and original. I'm really excited for Earth to Net. I think it looks like a cool show, and I think it seems like Disney Plus is really doing the puppet talk show thing more often. I think that's a good kind of thing to do with the brand. All right, so next up, in other kind of Jim Henson-y sort of news, is they're doing an Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas movie remake, and it is going to be with Brett McKenzie, who wrote the music to the two more recent Muppet movies, the Muppets and Muppets Most Wanted. He's also part of, or formerly part, or still part, I guess, of Flight of the Conchords. He's writing it, and he has an option to direct. Whether they decide to do that option is a whole other thing, I guess. But that's sort of like what they're considering right now. Some people are saying it's definitely going to streaming service. Other people are saying it's not. No one really knows. I don't really necessarily understand why you need a remake of it. Why don't you just watch Emmett Otter's thing and like give it a good release on a streaming service and hype it up and everything like that? Like, to me, that would make more sense. But maybe he has like an interesting take on it. Like, I don't really get like why you would need an interesting take on it. Like, it's already a pretty good special. Like, I haven't watched it in a few years. Maybe I'll get to watch it this year. But I'm just like, I'm kind of like, I would be excited for if they were just saying an original thing with Brent McKenzie. But I'm a little like, what? Okay, I guess. I'm just like, don't really I don't really get the idea of doing that. I thought that was kind of stupid. I don't know. That's my thing with it. Like, I'm sure he'll probably make something good with it, but if someone was like, hey, we're remaking Emmett Otter, I'd be like, I mean, why don't we just rewatch it? It's like right there. I don't get it. Anyway, you know, I don't know. All right, so Gemini Man is not doing very well. Apparently it didn't open very well in China. It's not doing well internationally, despite having 2 Will Smiths in it. It is going to lose its studio $75 million. So we'll see. Yeah, that's pretty bad. It doesn't seem like Ang Lee's, HFR thing is really working, because even James Cameron right after that talked about how he's probably not going to use that for Avatar and thinks it can be used for certain sequences and certain things like that, but doesn't really want to make a whole movie in it. Everyone seemed to think he was going to, and I sort of remember him saying something like that, but you know, I don't know. It feels like a rough week for Gemini Man. Like, no one's seeing it, and it totally doesn't seem like anyone's into HFR at all. So whatever. I kind of missed it. I wish I had gotten to see it. I didn't hear amazing things, but I still wish I had gotten to see it. All right, so next up is the Tom and Jerry movie is coming out December 23rd of next year, 2020. The thing about this Tom and Jerry movie, and at first I'm like, I don't really want it because it's like a CGI live action hybrid, which just sounds to me just gross. But I will say, other than it seems like they're not going to talk unless you guys know something else, basically, here is the plot synopsis, and I think it's going to star people like Chloe Grace Moretz, Michael Pena, Ken Jeong, Rob Delaney, among others. But the plot sees Tom the cat and Jerry the mouse getting kicked out of their home and relocating to a fancy New York apartment where a scrappy employee named Kyla, who's Moretz will play, will lose her job if she can't evict Jerry before a high-class wedding at the hotel. Her solution, hiring piano-playing Tom to get rid of the mouse. Now, here's the thing. I've recently watched a bunch of... Whoa, okay, I didn't see a super chat there. All right. Continuing from last week, other entries were Sandman flashback in SM3, Truman Show, Edge of Tomorrow, ending of Gerard Butler's Phantom of the Opera. I'm not sure... I forget what you were talking about. Please say in the chat what you were, but thank you for the support. I did read it. And here's a Red Bull to you. What was it? Was it like... Now I'm forgetting. I'm sorry. Anyway, thank you for the support, St. Powers. It's very nice of you. But the whole thing... Okay, so if you're going to do... Tom and Jerry is basically like a vaudeville thing. Like a... Laurel and Hardy, like Buster Keaton. You have a simple setup, and then they like jump all around and fight each other and break a bunch of stuff. And if that is the plot, if that is the whole plot, and like Chloe Grace Moretz can like go like, oh no, your wedding's gonna work now, I don't really care what she does, really doesn't matter to me. But if Tom and Jerry are running around and throwing crap at each other and doing this sort of thing, that's the Tom and Jerry movie I want. I have watched recently Tom and Jerry with my daughter, and we actually like it. If you just put on Boomerang sometimes, they're like, here's 4 hours of Tom and Jerry because we don't care anymore. And I love watching those. So I really like what I hear of that plot synopsis. That gives me hope. I'm sure they're going to make them talk and have some dumb song in it or something, and that's totally going to suck, and I'm not looking forward to that at all. But if this is all there is, they're totally gonna nail it, and I'm really excited for it. So I think that'll be cool. So I actually have Mystery Science Theater news. No one's really talking about this, but it's sort of a big deal. So the live tour was originally going to have Grant Biancoco, I think how you say his name, who created the character of M. Waverly for the last season of Mystery Science Theater on Netflix. Not the last one, like the most recent one, or I guess the first one on Netflix, the character of M. Waverly, and it was kind of a joke character, and he's pretty well loved by fans. But he was supposed to come on the second leg to play Crow, and he's played Crow on live tours before. But unfortunately, they currently have Nate Beagle, who was actually recommended by Grant Makoko, or Big Coco, whatever. He was recommended by him and cast so he could do Puppet Up, which he's doing currently. And then Joel really liked working with Nate Beagle and decided not to break up the cast for the second leg in 2020. So they decided not to bring him on in 2020 and keep the guy who is actually the guy who I saw, who's the guy who I saw when I saw the live tour. I actually said the wrong person in my review, but it was Nate Beagle. And thank you, Zane Powers, for clearing that up. Yes, that makes sense. Saddest movie moments take time. Were those sad? Yes. Let me relook at them. Sorry about that, Zane Powers. I apologize for that. Those were Truman Show, Edge of the World. Yeah, those were sad movie moments. Those were correct. I'm going to thank you for the super chats. I'm sorry about that. Apologies. But thank you very much. But so basically there was kind of like a bit of a shakeup. But to me, I can vouch for the live tour. I've seen every live tour that's come to New York of Mystery Science Theater, and I thought he did a good job as Crow. I actually thought it was the other guy, and he's a huge professional. Obviously, he's in Puppet Up and other things. So that's just kind of like he won't be on the tour. I think it sucks for him financially because he's probably expecting to be on tour and certain things, and then he doesn't get to do that. That maybe isn't the coolest thing, but that does say a lot about Nate Beagle, and I hope it worked out for him. Yeah. So anyway, all right. So Fast and Furious casting news. The first thing is Cardi B is cast. Does she have a big role? Is she doing very much of anything? I don't know. She was in an Instagram video with Vin Diesel, and everyone's like, she's cast, and I'm like, yeah, but these movies are like, there's a lot going on in these movies. So like, what exactly? What is she doing? She was really good in Hustlers, which I think honestly is a really good movie. I really liked Hustlers. I wish more people were talking about Hustlers. More like for me, for everyone else, what Joker is like for the press of the Hustlers is for me. I love that movie so much, and she was very good in like the few minutes she was in. So I think she'd do very well in a Fast and Furious movie, but I'm not sure what she's doing in that. Also, is apparently that they're considering Keanu Reeves. That's my cat Buster. Buster, you want to be on the stream? He's just looking at me. Forget it. All right. Apparently, much like every producer of a major blockbuster, they are very much considering Keanu Reeves and would like him to be in the film. I'm not sure like what he would do. I think he'd do a really cool villain, kind of a one-off villain sort of thing, and be part of like the kind of almost Expendables-esque cast of Fast and Furious, even though I think these films do way better than any Expendables movie ever did. But yes, they'll probably yeah, I guess they'll probably try to keep getting him. I don't think he'll be in this one unless he's going to have a cameo, much like what happened in Hobbs and Shaw. Next up, all right, so there's two kind of re-releases coming up of recent movies. One is Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. If you did not get to see that and wanted to see that, is going to be back in theaters in about 1,500 screens, which is a lot of screens, actually. That's pretty big for, I think, this weekend and around Halloween. So if you didn't get to see that or would like to see it in theaters again, find a theater that's playing it, because there's going to be a lot more than previously were. Also, Once Upon a Time in not Once Upon a Time in Mexico, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is getting re-released with 10 additional minutes. This comes on the heels of the fact that it is not getting released in China because Quentin Tarantino has final cut, as well as the fact that there's no Blu-ray or home video release date. So if you wanted to see it again and thought you were going to around Thanksgiving or something, you should probably get to the theater, because it doesn't sound like that is going to happen. But there's going to be a release with 10 extra minutes. I don't really think I need 10 extra minutes. I would watch a Netflix cut or something. I know they've considered doing other cuts and they've talked about that, but this is the only one we've heard of thus far. It sounds like this is going to be the new studio thing. It'd be like, hey, why don't you come back to the theater, because we're going to give you 20 minutes or 10 minutes or something from Midsummer to Spider-Man. But yeah, someone said 10 minutes of feet. That's funny. All right. Now let's get on to Disney, and then we'll get into a bunch of streaming stuff. I had talked about this previously, but Vulture picked it up and talked about it, so we're re-talking about it, I guess. But that Disney has been restricting film Fox movies from being played in repertory theaters. I did talk about this previously, like a month ago, but it seems to become a much bigger headline now, and people are re-talking about it, which I think they should, because I think this should be a bigger story, because I don't want people to go down I don't want these films to not be shown. I think Disney should be kind of called out for it, and I know Disney responds far better to problems. Disney responds far better if the public knows about something and they're being sort of publicly humiliated, which sounds lame, but and I don't really think they should have to be publicly humiliated or something, but it seems like they don't like negative press. That's why the Spider-Man thing worked out and everything like that. And same with the James Gunn thing. They don't really like negative press attention. So I'm hoping they stop doing that. And before, if you're thinking this and go, what about Rocky Horror? Apparently they're just not going to mess with Rocky Horror, partially because it makes a ton of money. It doesn't play that many places at midnight anymore, frankly. In New York, it used to play it a lot, and I think it's only in one theater in New York, and probably doing really well this weekend. And I haven't done Rocky Horror in a long time. I've considered doing it again. I've done it a couple times. If you've never done it, please do it now, because it sounds like it's not going to be good. It's the only Fox movie that's doing repertory stuff. But I think also because they're like, hey, we make money on this, a ton of money every weekend. Why would we take this away? Seems to be the thing. They also are, everyone's saying that it'll be a huge controversy, because it would just stop that scene completely. But I think it's also because you have packed shows for a lot of these things every week, and especially during Halloween. So I think they're probably not going to take that away, as I said last time. But I'm glad people are talking about it. I hope Disney relents. I also hope they get into the repertory game, because that's sort of lame that they made so much money off re-releases back in the day, and they've just sat out this whole repertory thing, which has gotten bigger and bigger and bigger, and now they're going to restrict those films more, which I don't think is good. Zane Powers has another one. The last ones are a scene in Click. Click was actually very sad. Goodbye Snoopy and Snoopy Come Home, and when the cub Coda learns his mom died in Brother Bear. Those are sad. Those are sad. Are you bummed? You're trying to bum everybody out with those sadness, Zane Powers. Thank you for all the sadness. And that Red Bull's for you. Thank you for all the support tonight from the Super Chat, Zane Powers. All right. So let's talk about some Disney Plus, and then we're going to talk about some HBO Max. This is the streaming part of the show. So one thing that's interesting, there was a report on Hollywood Reporter about Disney Plus. Disney Plus apparently is really going to lose Disney billions of dollars. Previously, they were making about $150 million every year from revenue from selling their films to Netflix and other streaming services. That is obviously going away. They're going to be making less money for the next couple of years, and actually won't make a profit off Disney Plus. They actually won't make a profit off Disney Plus until 2024. Yes, for real. And so they're going to lose a ton of money. It's kind of a huge gamble, even though they have this thing with Verizon, which will sign up customers instantly who use Verizon. It doesn't sound like the greatest idea. I don't know. I do know that they will let you keep your downloaded movies until you stop paying your Disney Plus bill, or they take them off the service. So if they decide, hey, I'm going to take obscure Disney movie away from the service and you have it downloaded, it will suddenly not play, or you have to save it somehow on something that never connects to the internet, possibly. I don't know if you can even do that. But yeah, it's going to be, it sounds like a rough road, and that's one of the things that everyone's most worried about these streaming services, is because they're putting up a lot of money to hopefully this gamble works out and they can beat Netflix, but they're going to have to spend billions and billions, and even Netflix is spending billions and billions. So I don't necessarily think it's like the smartest idea in the world or anything like that. But we'll see about what's going to happen. It seems like a risky endeavor. I think Disney can probably work it out, but yeah, it sounds like they're not going to be doing so hot, and especially because this was a pretty unprecedented year, and it doesn't sound like the next couple years are going to have, you know, the crazy year they had from like Endgame to Frozen 2 to a Star Wars movie to everything that was going on with Disney this year. So it sounds like, yeah, cool. Also, with AT&T and HBO Max, apparently if you have AT&T and already subscribed to HBO or HBO Go, you will actually get a free HBO Max subscription. So cool, I get HBO Max because I have AT&T and have HBO. So that's kind of neat. That's at least what they're saying. Supposedly it will be one of the more expensive streaming services, but no one's sure what that price point will be at this time. However, they are also planning to launch a lower cost version of HBO Max in 2021. So if you wanted to see those 4 Adventure Time specials, you're going to have to wait later. It does seem like HBO Max, they're really trying to make like kind of a prestige kind of a thing, and since HBO is known for that, yeah. But it is interesting because it's just kind of folded into, you know, paying for AT&T, because AT&T now owns Time Warner. And Warner Media is whatever it's called now. So it's interesting. That one seems to be set up a little better, that instantly a lot of people will have HBO Max, whereas Disney Plus is trying to do that with Verizon, but it sounds like instantly about 8 to 10 million people are going to have HBO Max. Whereas Disney Plus, it doesn't sound like they're going to have as many. So HBO Max actually might make up for any movement that Disney Plus has made if they don't make as much movement on that. But again, we don't really fully know because HBO Max comes out in March, which is a while away. So we'll see. I think they also are going to get to learn from Disney Plus's mistakes, which sucks for Disney Plus. All right. I think that was everything there. So Neill Blomkamp. Do you remember Neill Blomkamp? Because he was a director who made Chappie. Remember Paleo when I was on POS podcast? I think we called that one Crappy Chappie. I think that was the first POS I was on when I used to be able to do that. Anyway, Paleo is talking about this chat, but Disney Plus is significantly cheaper. They're trying to be affordable, especially for families and so forth, but HBO Max doesn't seem to be as concerned with that, but I think because they are going to be rolled into AT&T stuff with HBO and things like that, I think they're kind of feeling they can get away with it through, you know, keeping customers with AT&T and keeping customers with HBO, which Disney Plus does not have that luxury, because they're just like, hey, Verizon customers get it. I'm like, all right, I don't think that's the same. Anyway, so Neill Blomkamp has a new movie with Taylor Kitsch. So it's the hottest movie of 2009. Sorry. But it is about a cop who's going to investigate a murder, and the murder, he goes and realizes the murder is done by an alien, and it's called Inferno, I've heard it's called, which is either based on what Dante wrote or what Chris Claremont wrote. I'm not sure which. But it sounds like a kind of a good comeback for both Taylor Kitsch and Neill Blomkamp, who really honestly needs a comeback. If he really wants one. Anyway, I know everyone has mixed feelings about Cartoon Brew in general, and trust me, I've had mixed feelings on them for a very long time. But they have a list of shorts potentially up for Best Animated Feature. It goes on for like 80 shorts. If you want to see some cool animated shorts, go to Cartoon Brew and check that out. I think it's actually pretty cool. I watched a few of them. You can see all sorts of interesting stuff, kind of get the guys of it. And I know everyone says like they like to check out those shorts that are nominated for Best Anime Short. This is a good way to do that, regardless of how you feel about Cartoon Brew. Okay. Keep going down. Go back up. Go back up. Okay. So, this is kind of one of the headline things, I guess. Box Office Mojo, unless, let me check. I love Box Office Mojo. I go to Box Office Mojo. God, it's so awful. It's still awful. Okay. I used to go to Box Office Mojo all the time. It was one of my favorite sites on the internet. I really loved Box Office Mojo. And it recently got bought by IMDB or also Amazon or whatever, and became through IMDB Pro Box Office Mojo, and completely redesigned. It has all these drop down menus and is way uglier. I've heard a lot of people complain and say they haven't really visited Box Office Mojo as much. I haven't. I really use Box Office Mojo a lot for research. I know Box Office Mojo hasn't been as good as it used to be. It used to have like a good writer doing the recaps every week, which they haven't really had one of those in a while. So the site isn't at its peak anymore, but I still... I don't know. I was really let down by this. I don't use IMDb. Like, when IMDb first started, I loved it, and now it's like mainly Wikipedia, and I'll go through their trivia sometimes and like to find out someone's cast listing. But then they put up stuff behind the paywall, like weirder stuff. I haven't really found anything I couldn't find before, to be honest with you. And I guess I'll have to just get used to it, because they do have like every weekend up until like 1977, which is actually longer. Before the redesign, it would cut off at about 1980. It's, I just thought it was one of the worst website decisions I'd seen in a really long time. Like, I really wish they hadn't done that. It just really lame. It was just really upsetting, because I would go to that site all the time and just like pour through all the kind of box office data. Like, and you've definitely heard me talk about box office stuff. If you've heard me talk about any box office stuff on anything ever, it was because of Box Office Mojo. I fell in love with that site, and it's just, okay, you're gone now, I guess. You know, I just think IMDb did... it was a terrible new format change. I guess they wanted to be like IMDb, but IMDb doesn't have a great design, so I don't see what they were thinking. I get it, the people who own Box Office Mojo, because I know for a while, like, they were just kind of like, it's been a hard site to like monetize. It took them a while, but also like the release calendar is not as good, and like everyone across the board uses that release calendar. Very disappointing. I'm totally let down by the Box Office Mojo redesign. For me, it's totally ruined. Totally ruined Box Office Mojo. So in less fun news, I guess, in other things that aren't great, there's an article by IndieWire this week talking about how trans actors, despite feeling like they're getting more work and more opportunities in Hollywood, actually aren't. They talk specifically about... that actress who was on Transparent and is even in Hustlers for a little bit, and how she actually, even though she's been in a lot of things, was even on RuPaul's Drag Race, wasn't making enough to actually qualify for health insurance, despite being in all these high-profile things. So trans actors aren't actually making that much, despite, you know, Lorraine Cox and other trans actors and actresses kind of getting more attention and things like that financially, and it's not working out for them, which I found to be really sad, because you think when you see people on that stuff, it's working out, but it doesn't necessarily mean that if you see someone doing something publicly that they're rolling in dough or anything. Case in point, me, but I'm not trans, obviously. But I found that to be very sad, and I think these actors and actresses should be paid correctly, and paid like, I mean, they're just like, if you're not qualifying for health insurance, you're not paying these people right, and that's just a goddamn shame, and that shouldn't be going on at all. It's just really upsetting. So that's an article at IndieWire. You should go check that out. But it just doesn't say a lot for progress if you're not actually paying these people. Like, just having them there doesn't really mean anything unless you are actually effectively financially supporting them through their work and through their job, and you're not doing that through this, and it's just upsetting. This is the saddest episode. Yes, I'm like bringing the whole thing down. All right. It was released this week. Apparently, Naomi Harris, who plays Moneypenny in the current James Bond movies, which just wrapped shooting this week, actually, apparently had pitched a Moneypenny spinoff that the Eon producers completely rejected. They were like weren't interested in a Moneypenny spinoff from Barry Jenkins of all people, which sounds awesome to me. Okay, here we go. Fun fact: Carrie Fisher. I think I knew this, but this is an interesting one. This is an interesting one for Niji Kichu. Fun fact: Carrie Fisher has the only official copy of the Star Wars holiday. Let's start over. Sorry. It's sometimes hard to go like very serious and then fun facts. I like it though. Thank you so much for the support, Niji Kichu. I hope I'm saying your name right. All right. Fun fact: Carrie Fisher has the only official copy of the Star Wars Holiday Special after George begged her to do commentary and she asked for it in return. Is that commentary recorded? Because oh my god, I would love that. That sounds amazing. Carrie Fisher doing commentary on the Star Wars Holiday Special, like. I'm going to be honest. I would pay to see that over Rise of the Skywalker or Rise of Skywalker, whatever. That sounds amazing. Like, how is that? I hope someone recorded that. Damn, you're really good at this. You're like killing it this time. Thank you for the support, but you're doing really good this show. I got to say, these are some, everyone I'm like, oh, fuck. Anyway, thank you for the support. This Red Bull's for you. Yes. All right. So, but yeah, that sounded like a really good Moneypenny spin-off from Barry Jenkins. I want Barry Jenkins to do more high-profile stuff, but I also just sort of want him to be Barry Jenkins. So, a couple of people have asked about the Bone series. I talked about that on last week's Movie Crap. There hasn't been any new stories, so I don't, it sounds really cool. I'm into it. Okay, so next up is Netflix is apparently testing a speed feature. If the speed feature would basically be like how you have on podcasts, where you can like maybe go 2 times speed or 1.5 times speed, basically, and you could do that with movies, which sounds horrible. I don't want that. I did actually do it once with David Lynch's Dune, and it made it a little more bearable. But other than that, I've never really done that before, and I think it's sort of dumb, and I'm totally against it. So, but apparently Netflix is testing that, and there's a chance they might do that. Cool. So there's 2 kind of Joker stories, which I thought were kind of cool. One is Joker is the highest grossing R-rated film of all time, besting both the Deadpool movies, which previously both the Deadpool films were. And then I have this kind of full one from Gary Goldman, who is in Joker. And this is his quote from working on the Joker. He was the comedian in he was the comedian in the comedy club that Arthur or the Joker was watching. He said, the one thing that I will say that was a little bit irritating is that when I was running through my set, there were all these extras, and they'd clearly been told that I was doing well. So they were laughing and enthusiastic. And then there was one extra who was so enthusiastic in his laughter that it was throwing off my timing. He was just laughing too loud. And right when I was about to say something to Todd Phillips is the director, about maybe getting the guy not to laugh so loud, I realized that it was Joaquin Phoenix. It's my best Joker story. I can't believe it took me 6 takes to figure out that the man with the really bizarre laugh was the Joker. That's funny. That's from a Collider piece Jeff Snyder wrote. I just thought that was a funny story. But also, Ryan Reynolds posted a nice thing that oftentimes when other box office things take over another one's thing, a star director will say, hey, congratulations, and he did that for the Joker, which I think is classy and I think is cool as well. Apparently, they're trying to work on a Pirates of the Caribbean reboot from the run of the writers of Chernobyl. I'm sure Disney. I kind of feel like people are just, I would give this 10 years off. I don't know why you're doing this so early, but I also, am not the one who's not going to make a profit until 2024. So I guess I sort of get it. In actual animation news, and I'm surprised this wasn't talked about more really, is Bill Plympton has made a deal with Shout Factory to distribute all of his films through streaming services and on home video and things like that. I think this will be really good because I think Bill Plympton needs to get more distribution. Idiots and Angels is one of the best animated films of the decade. No one really saw it, unfortunately. Cheating was all right. I forget what I thought about it, to be honest with you. But I really think I don't love all of his stuff, but I think he's an independent animator who should get more of a more of an audience and more of, more eyes on his stuff. And I hope Shout Factory can do that. I think that's cool. Apparently he's developing something called Tiffany the Whale, which sounds weird. I don't know about that. So I saw the BloodShot trailer from Valiant Comics formerly, and with Vin Diesel. It looked fun. It looked kind of just like a normal superhero Bloodshot movie. I don't know. It's just looked like a normal Vin Diesel kind of movie. I think it'll do probably just as well as like the Triple X3 movie did or something like that. I think people will be into it. It looked kind of fun, but it just didn't pop out to me. It's kind of like if that weekend that was the biggest thing coming out, I'll probably see it and review it. I barely remember Bloodshot from my childhood, and I think I had a few of those comics. The Valiant comics I was in was Hard Corpse, I think. And I remember they had an ad that said in Valiant Comics where dead means dead, because they were really going to kill people off, unlike how Marvel does, and they bring them back and so forth. I also saw a trailer that is not a new trailer, but is worth checking out. It's called Judy and Punch. People have been telling me to check this trailer out. It looks really cool. It's about two puppeteers in 1800s or long ago, whatever, I don't know, and they do a Punch and Judy show that's a comic show. And basically what happens in it, kind of the log line is the guy seems to be a little abusive, and after, especially after his daughter, their baby daughter, just sort of disappears and goes away. And it seems kind of creepy and weird, and gets into abuse, and the abuse that is clearly on display in the puppet show and things like that. It seemed interesting. I would like to see it. I don't know, because it's coming out at a very busy time, but it sounds really cool. You should definitely check out. I think it's called Judy and Punch, the trailer. Or Punch and Judy, I guess is what I call it. Anyway, I'm not describing this well at all, because I've screwed it up. All right, so I'm going to do... I don't want to do a ton of... Wait, what? Did he talk about Mike Lazzo leaving Adult Swim? The fuck? Really? Hold on. Really? I had not heard this. Really? I have not... Where are you getting this? I have not heard this. I'm not even seeing this. Mike Lazzo to announce retirement. Oh, he hasn't yet. Okay, hold on. To announce. Is this a rumor? All right, hold on. Jim is discovering this now, and I'm not so into it. Sources. Okay, first off, rumors. Okay, all right. This is a bit of a... This is not breaking... That was a day ago. All right. Okay, so I can talk about this a little bit just because I read a lot of stuff, and then I'll get into Oscar stuff right after, and then sort of a segment, and then oh god damn, and then some Patreon questions and so forth. So Mike Lazzo leaving would not actually be unprecedented, and let me explain why. All of the executives that made HBO special, made HBO what it was, left as soon as AT&T took over. So, and I'm serious about this, it would not be unprecedented if he were to leave. It really wouldn't. Because it seems like most of the executive talent, and to be perfectly honest with you, I think they do have real executive talent over at Warner Media, like really great executive talent, and Mike Lazzo would be one of them. I think it would be a shame. I don't know if they can fully recover from it. I'm not how sure they're going to do with HBO, with all the people who made HBO. Oh, that's Buster. You want to come here? No, my thing's being weird. Okay. All the people who made Adult Swim are leaving. I don't see how you would continue Adult Swim. That might be too much of a challenge for HBO Max. It might be sort of it. I'm going to be honest, I don't like the rumors thing because this wasn't widely reported, and that would be major news if he were to actually for real leave. I haven't... basically if you don't know this, my thing about news stories is I try to go with someone who's not to discredit anyone who's a smaller production or anything like that, but it's just that if they don't fully have the bona fides or know they can talk to sources, I shred some doubt on it. But because most of the HBO people left and HBO in general is changing and is going to become more of a network, if they're going to do that with Adult Swim, I'd imagine Mike Lazzo would leave, so there is some sort of precedent there. I hope maybe he was just upset and didn't like where things are going, but to be honest, I could actually see it happening. So if it is actually true, which at this time is just a rumor when I'm covering it at this point right now, but if it is true that Mike Lazzo left Adult Swim, it would sort of be not out of character for what's going on at HBO Max, or Warner Media at this time. So it is a possibility. Hearing it and thinking about it, it's like totally makes sense. So I hope it doesn't happen, but it sounds like it might. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Jordan. It's your birthday, right? Sorry, I forgot. Yeah, it's been a long day. All right, so I want to talk about two kind of Buster, you want to come here? You want to come here? Come here. You want to see everybody? Does everybody want to see Buster? Come on. Come here. You want to say hi? Come here. This is one of my cats, Buster. Come here. Hey, hey, hey. Hey. Say hi. Hi. This is my Buster. Say hi. Do you want to hang out? It's okay. Okay, that was Buster. You got to see Buster. All right. I have like 3 cats. I do have 3 cats. All right. So, moving on. Sorry, this stream is funny. All right. So there's 2 Oscar things I want to talk about. First off is Matt Damon and Christian Bale, who are in Ford v Ferrari or versus Ferrari, are both going to go out for Best Actor, which is kind of surprising considering that they apparently share a publicist and a lot of the same management team, so that's going to be very difficult. Apparently it was sort of an ego thing on Christian Bale's part. Usually when you have 2 people going in the same movie, they compete for different categories, and unfortunately they chose not to do that, so it might hurt Ford v Ferrari's Oscar chances. The other thing, and someone brought this up, apparently Greta Gerwig's Little Women screened this week and people seem to like it. It seems to be an interesting, different take, which I'm definitely for. But apparently if Greta Gerwig, this is like for real true, gets a nomination for Best Director, she will be the only female director to ever get nominated for Best Director twice in the history of moving pictures and the Oscars. By the way, I'd like to remind everyone that it is 2019. Anyway, moving on, I wanted to talk about a story that's kind of been brought up a couple times on this. Only a few things, then we'll get on to a thing. I'll tell you what my segment is. I was going to talk about Quinton Reviews' video because I really liked it and I want to talk about it for a little bit. But this thing called The Last Duel, I have like 3 stories and then we'll move on. All right. So this movie called The Last Duel, which originally is going to be directed by Ridley Scott, and we had heard that Matt Damon and Ben Affleck were involved. And the plot of this film is one guy goes off to war who will be played by Matt Damon. That was already confirmed. And the other guy, presumably, will be played by Ben Affleck, who stays behind and rapes that guy's wife. Then he comes back from war and has a duel with his friend, former friend, obviously, because of that rape. And that's what we had heard, basically. That's really all we had heard is Matt Damon and Ben Affleck were involved. Here's the plot of this creepy movie. Here's who's directing it, and that's it. And then suddenly they went, aha, but you all were wrong because it's Matt Damon as the guy you thought he would play. And then Adam Driver plays the creepy rapist guy. And then Ben Affleck's like somebody else or something. And they're like, yeah, see, why did you think he was that guy? It's because we only gave you very limited information. And by the way, we're not going to say the word rape anymore, even though it should be. So anyway, it was kind of, I don't know what's going on with this movie. A lot of people are saying it might not even happen at this point, but it seems like Ben Affleck probably wants to stay away from any sexual assault things because of his brother. But it's weird. I don't know. I wanted to talk about this other thing, and it was actually there's a really great interview with the director of this film, but it's called The Current War. And if you see a poster for it, you're like, why is it called The Current War Director's Cut? What's that mean? Like, I haven't heard of the current war. And it is about kind of the war over electricity and how that worked out between Tesla and Edison. And it was going to be originally the Weinstein Company's kind of Oscar push, the fall that Harvey Weinstein went down in that New York Times piece and all those other things. So, The Current War actually had a pretty disastrous screening at TIFF that year, and the director really didn't like, who's the director of Me and Earl and the Dying Girl. It was his big movie, and it didn't really work out for him, and basically, that's why the film didn't look like it was going to come out, and it got bought by a new production company and got re-edited, but because of all the reputation of The Current War was really bad, he wanted to name it the director's cut to show to people like, hey, this is not the same thing that played at TIFF. It's not getting necessarily good buzz, I'm going to say, but the director was on the show Meet the Movie Press, which is a show that I'm a fan of, and kind of goes over like this crazy history of this movie and his whole career, and it's incredibly fascinating. But I think it's actually pretty the behind the scenes is more interesting than this movie seems to be, but it is, it kind of like got lost in the kind of looseness of the Weinstein thing. I'm gonna say this about the whole Weinstein thing, and I've noticed because he was in public and people are saying, he's a horrible person, but he was a good producer. I just want to publicly say that he was a shitty person and he was an awful person, but he wasn't honestly that good of a producer. I mean, it's like he made Pulp Fiction and Good Will Hunting, and certainly we have Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez and Kevin Smith, all because of Harvey Weinstein, and I get that. And I was a kid in the 90s who loved renting Miramax movies because you get all these cool trailers of indie movies and so forth. But he produced so much Oscar junk over the years that it's just like ridiculous. So many forgettable movies, like it's just like what, like the producer of The Artist and The Imitation Game and stuff. I just like don't get like why people act like he was a great producer. He really wasn't. When he would buy films, all he would do is go to Sundance and buy the biggest hype movies, pay for them, and release them. That's not talent. That's not being a great producer. He barely discovered very many of these people. The few he did were the 3 directors I mentioned, and he couldn't launch other ones because he'd cut their crap to hell. Like he was called Harvey Scissorhands because he would cut up people's stuff. He was an awful producer, and people need to come to terms with the fact that most of his legacy is bullshit. He was a horrible rapist, and he made mostly horrible movies. All right, Pulp Fiction is awesome, and all the Tarantino stuff's great, and there's a lot of good movies he produced. But most of his legacy is Oscar junk that nobody remembers, nobody watches, and was just overhyped crap at the time. And like seriously, like, and the animated stuff, like look at most of his legacy, like his filmography, it's mostly crap. He's not a good producer. Most of what he did was just like kind of like he got in the right place at the right time, or found a way to get in the right place at the right time. The few indie film successes like the Blair Witch and things like that got out of his clutches were honestly the better for it. And he just wasn't really that talented. He just knew how to play the game and do things like that. But do an Oscar campaign. But as a producer of actual films and the content that he made a lot of crap. Anyway, I've been thinking about that a lot. Sorry, this is like a lot of me like putting shit on blast today. I don't, what's funny is like I was like, but I'm gonna say nice things about the Quinton Reviews. I'm so excited about that I just shit on everything else. And finally, the last thing. And then I'm going to take a big thing of Red Bull because this has been a crazy show. Kevin Feige and the Russo brothers will be on The Simpsons. Apparently, Kevin Feige will voice a Thanos-like character. It sounds like sort of an interesting episode. Sure, I probably won't even watch it, but that was announced, so neat. Yeah, okay. I'm going to have some of this, and then I'm going to talk about Quinton Reviews. I'm going to make a review of Quinton Reviews' review of To Boldly Flee, which was To Boldly Suck, about lore movies. By the way, thank you everyone for being here. This is my TED Talk. All right. I think the influence of Doug Walker is sort of interesting. I myself have never really been that influenced by him or the nostalgia critic. and Channel Awesome. I was probably too old. Everyone else talks about how they were in middle school and they're just understanding content, how to make content, be a filmmaker. I was well past that at that point. You know, most of when he started, I was making knock force and things. So he just really didn't represent as much to me personally, and never really has. That's not me disregarding him. It just didn't really make the impact on me. But I do understand that for many more content creators and reviewers, he has a huge lasting influence. And I think with Nostalgia Critic, he is one of the more influential critics of all time. And currently, he's probably one of the most influential critics. And I think a lot of what Quinton Reviews wanted to talk about in this is that dealing with that influence in the wake of Change the Channel and even his wall review. Because I think when the wall review happened, we'd seen clips of what Nostalgia Critic has been doing on Twitter, and we'd all make fun of it, like the one where like the genie and stuff and Mary Poppins are fighting newer Mary Poppins, things like that, and we'd all laugh at it. But the wall was like next level horrible, and so I think it like remade everyone think about it. But I think what Doug really did what Quinton really did in his review of To Boldly Flee is really reconcile with that influence and deal with that influence. And I found that to be incredibly fascinating as a critical piece. I honestly think it's maybe the best review and best piece of criticism about the Nostalgia Critic that I've ever seen. I think it deals with an influence someone has over a community and kind of dealing with it head on and realizing that you're not comfortable with the fact that you're influenced by someone. And I think that's part of growing up, is realizing that maybe someone who had a major part of your life and made you who you were isn't the greatest person, and you sort of have to reconcile with that. And that sucks. Nobody likes that, but that's just the way it is. And I think he dealt with that. And then as much as he talks about how it made him ruin lore movies for him, he then ends up making a lore movie. But what I found incredibly fascinating about a lore movie, hold on, let me go. I'll stop for a second. I do have a super chat from John Barton. Missed talk on Marvel, but Vulture had a good article on it called "Okay, Fine, Let's Talk About Marvel," discussing the franchise's influence and dominance on entertainment and the discussion of it. Thank you for the $10 super chat. I will drink whatever's left of this Red Bull for you. Thank you for the support. I did read that article. It was a fine article. I did talk about Marvel earlier in the show. I'm sorry. I've kind of said a lot, but I agree with, from what I understand that article to be. Anyway, but yes, thank you for the super chat. But that is a good article. You should check out that article. You should check that article out, basically. Right, Pumpkin. Okay. Anyway, but I think the cool thing about what he does with his kind of lore movie or nostalgia movie kind of thing is, so Nostalgia Critic makes these movies that are in effect supposed to theoretically be someone purposely making a B movie. So it's like Sharknado or Piranha 3D or something like that. Like, you on purpose make a cult movie. That is the purpose of what you were doing with those things. Like, you understand you are on purpose making a cult film. Okay, so he is making a parody or a satire on a Doug Walker film. So this might be the first time I've heard of this in cinema. Like, I mean, I'm not being like funny here. I'm very serious, actually. Is someone going like, okay, we have a film that is in itself a self-aware version of a B movie. It's on purpose a B film. But then what he is doing, what Quinton Reviews is doing, is he's making a on purpose B movie of a film that's being an on purpose B movie. So it's like an extra layer that it's like he has pushed this postmodernism to such a bizarre degree. But what's hilarious about it is so much better than the Doug. I haven't seen To Boldly Flee, and Nolan has told me I shouldn't, for my own sanity. But also I think probably wants me to at some point and force me to review it. But it's like going to this extra level. Like it's like he has broken through to something that I don't think makes any sense, but I sort of love its weird postmodernism that he's pushed. Like, it's an on-purpose B movie of an on-purpose. It's like, I can't even describe it. I made a thing called Film Students, and I kept Ian's in it. He keeps repeating like it's like film. I can't even do it, but it's so many like it's like someone making a postmodern film about someone making a postmodern film of them on purpose making a B movie. I think I can't even describe it. There's so many levels to it, but I like that he in effect just makes sort of a lore movie, but it has these extra layers to it. It's really him dealing with the idea of Doug Walker and what Doug Walker really was, and really examining it and kind of showing that, like, yes, it is definitely a part of that community. It's definitely a part of him as a creator, but that's in some ways like, don't be ashamed of who you are, but also acknowledge the ways to move on from it. And I think it was a really reconciled way to deal with these content creators who are influenced by him and are kind of embarrassed of it now, to kind of say, this was the context. Like, I didn't know the Moulin Rouge was such a huge review for him. I'd never even heard of that review before. And how horrible he treated people and how everyone hated him afterwards, and how he made these things and how it represented all this stuff. But everyone, you kind of bounce off from it and have moved on from it. And I think it was an amazing piece of criticism to deal with that. Specifically with Doug Walker, I think more people could do it with things. Like, I should probably do one on Kevin Smith at some point or something. But I really thought it was one of the better pieces of criticism I've seen this year. And I know we, on the internet, talk so much about Doug Walker and his failings, and clearly have done that a lot on Pizza Party with Change the Channel and everything like that. But it goes into kind of their failure to fully deal with Change the Channel, to dealing with that. I think it mainly deals with dealing with the influence of Doug Walker and the nostalgia critic on content creators, and specifically Quinton Reviews as himself, and what to do from it. And I think it was a beautiful kind of piece of criticism, because it kind of fully says what I think everyone needs to hear, is like, it's fine that that is where you came from, but now we're going to move on from it. But it's also fine to acknowledge that you are not okay with what he did. You are not okay with his business practices, and you're not okay with how he dealt with people. And you should be upset by it, and you shouldn't like where that went from it. But we should be able to move on and create better content and learn from it and progress in ways that Doug Walker clearly never has. So I thought Quinton Reviews kind of summed that all almost perfectly. And there's also a lot to read into about it. I thought it was an amazing piece. I know it was a really long, big artistic achievement from him. I've become more of a fan of him recently. I was not on the Pizza Party podcast he was on. I understand, like, Nolan was on Quinton Reviews, and I've never met him, but I thought he did really outstanding job, outstanding piece of criticism. But I think what he did was really acknowledging that there is a huge problem with that influence, and understanding that was a part of him, and what he liked about media and who he was as a content creator, and understanding how to move on from it. And I think that's going to show other people that, hey, we can acknowledge and we can still be embarrassed and have a problem with it, but also acknowledging that is where we came from. I think is kind of, in a way, sort of a healing thing in a weird way, which I think is probably something I think we all need to do from Doug Walker. But I'm curious, like, where even he's going to go, because I feel like we've almost discussed him and we're almost sort of done with him, but I felt that way many times. I feel like Doug Walker will kind of slime his way back into our hearts. But I think Quinton Reviews kind of made almost the pinnacle of what you can do with criticism on Doug Walker, and I don't know if there's really anything more to say on him, or at least for right now, after he was able to perfectly say that with To Boldly Flee, to frankly say To Boldly Suck, as bad as Doug Walker did. All right. This Arnold Palmer is to you. Thank you. All right. So let's do Patreon questions, and then we'll move on from there. I hope I get everyone's thing. All right. So, yes. All right. So I have two things. All right. All right. So this is from Reanimated Jesus. This is one of my first Patreon questions. Thanks. Okay. I really enjoyed your response from last week, LOL. I got a more fun question now. What's your favorite in-theater moment regarding movie trailers? Mine is a Dog's Way Home trailer. The trailer basically showed the whole film, LOL. when the trailer ended, a kid in front of me said, "Dad, that movie was short." The dad told him that wasn't a movie and reassured him, but they weren't. But then they reassured him that they were saying longer. Got any more funny moments like this? Thanks again, Jim. Thank you for that. For trailers, I remember a lot of trailers, like you kind of get the idea of certain I remember anything I go to a theater where people will talk, but kind of like only when it's like sort of in an appropriate kind of fun way, thankfully. But I do remember, like, God, there was like certain drama trailers and certain trailers, like, I just remember I could tell when a movie was going to be a hit there. It's majority black audience, so like any Kevin Hart movie, I was like, oh, this is going to be huge. And I used to think he was the biggest star in the world, which I guess he sort of was. But funny trailer moments. Usually I usually hear a lot of when it's a Star Wars or a Marvel thing, someone will yell out something like, oh, I am seeing that shit, and like everyone will laugh. Things like that. Man, I don't have a good trailer moment, but I will tell you a good theater moment because I want to answer this question in a good way. Is one time I was at the movies, maybe I've said this on the Pizza Party podcast, I don't know, but someone was two people were talking the whole movie, and they weren't saying funny things, they're just talking, and this lady yells like, shut up, you need to be quiet right now. You are talking through this movie. I work hard to pay for this movie, and if you're going to talk, you should say something at least that's interesting. You are boring, and you're interrupting my movie, and that is just frankly rude. And like literally the whole audience started laughing and clapping because they were rude, and they weren't saying anything that was funny, and I just loved that they did that. That was hilarious. Next is from William Ellman, who was here earlier. I don't know if he's still here, but he asked me to read this, his movie crap question. Off the top of your head right now, if you had to recommend one underrated, underappreciated comedy to your viewers, what would it be? Mine would be Playtime, 1967, directed by Jacques Tati. I would actually say, since Dolomite's out, I don't think enough people even remember Bowfinger. I also think the Ruddles should be more appreciated. I always say Popstar, but I feel like everyone knows about Popstar, and that's probably not worth discussing. There's this one. God, I think that's everything. I don't know. I'm gonna go with those two. I'm sorry. I had that question for a while, and I should have come up with a better thing. You'd think I would. Anyway, this is from Sinram. This is the last Patreon question, and then we'll move on to regular questions in the chat. So get them ready. Don't post them until I'm done with this because I don't want to miss any. Anyway, so this is from Sinram. This month, please check out his YouTube channel. It's really great. This month marks the 5-year anniversary of the release of Gone Girl, the last featured film directed by David Fincher, and so far there's been no indication that will change anytime soon. That's actually not true. There's Mankiewicz or Mank that's going to come out through Netflix, going to be shot in black and white. But we haven't gone this long between Fincher movies since the 5-year gap between Panic Room and Zodiac. There was some scuttlebutt that it might be that he might direct a World War Z sequel. That didn't work out, but yeah, but it doesn't seem to be happening soon. What do you think has kept Fincher away from movie theaters, given his start in TV, commercial, music video? Perhaps he's more focused on streaming content now and sees theatrical distribution as something he can't live without. Steven Soderbergh seems to be of similar mind. Regardless, what would you like him to do next? So he's doing a film about Mankiewicz. I forget which Mankiewicz it was who wrote Citizen Kane. It's going to be in black and white, and it sounds actually really cool. Please check that. Look that up because I think you'd be very excited by it. He's tried doing a 20,000 Leagues film. He's tried doing so many different other properties that just haven't really worked out. But it seems like he's focused more on the TV side. It takes him a while to have like a particular thing. Like it doesn't seem like he likes to. It doesn't honestly feel like he likes to just like go into something willy-nilly. Like he really likes to be absolutely prepared to do something. So I think it is I'm not surprised that it's taking him a while to do anything like that, but we'll see. I don't know. I'm excited for what's going to happen with Mank. I think that sounds like a really cool property, and hearing about Mankiewicz and it's going to be in black and white sounds really thrilling to me. But I also think it's like there's not really that much of an audience for expensive thrillers because Gone Girl wasn't cheap. All right, so ask me questions. Let's go. Let's answer questions in the chat, and then it's over, I guess. But before I do, Ryan Walterson, as a good fun fact, in the Quinton video, Linkar's title artist, Dr. Crafty, did some artwork for it, and even Allison Pledger voiced the woman in the ship. I did notice that. I forget her name, and I'm not as versed in the awesome verse, I guess. Obscura Lupa, I didn't see that. That was good. But anyway, if you guys have any questions you'd like me to answer, now's the time. Unless I answered everyone's questions, well, unless people have been asking questions. Okay, here's one from Zane Powers. If you were given the time and the opportunity to get more into one of these like you are with movies, would you rather get more into video games or anime? Anime, because I really would like to know about this. What is this Wonder Woman 84 news? I don't know any Wonder Woman 84 news. I keep seeing Austin post. I'm gonna look up Wonder Woman 84. Okay, I'll look that up. I'm waiting more for questions. What? It doesn't seem to be. There's a lot of. Anyway, explain to me what this news is because I'm confused. Anyway, Jim, thoughts on Videodrome? We had to watch it in class. I will say this: thoughts on Videodrome, Austin. I had to watch it once at 8 a.m. and it messed my whole day up. Videodrome is really probably pertinent now because we have screen names and it brings up like everyone will have a fake like video name and everything like that. I think it is great. I think it's my favorite Cronenberg. I think that's a lame response, but I think it is. I think it says a lot about media and new media at the time and how media will change us and how we live our lives through media, and also all the creepiness in it, and Hail to the New Flesh. Zane Powers, what are you going to dress as for Halloween? And if we bought you video games, would you stream them? No, because I would suck at them and I don't have any systems to play them on. So don't do that because you would be wasting your money. You could, I'm not really good at video games at all, and I don't think it would do anyone good to watch me play them. But sorry, I'm really like, I have nothing against video games. I just never got into it, and I feel like it's, I don't know. I wish I had gotten into it. That's a sort of a regret, but I don't. I still like it as a medium, to be honest. I think it seems cool. All right. Paleo. No. Hold on. Before we get to Paleo, sorry. Pizza Joe. What's your favorite show of the 2010s? Probably Regular Show. That's kind of my default answer. Buy me video games. I play video games. Yeah, buy Paleo video games. Do you think J.G. Quintel's Close Enough has been delayed so that they'll just put it on HBO Max? I have thought that, but there's been no announcement. I've often wanted to do a lost media thing on Close Enough, but I sort of think if it's going anywhere, they might just dump it on there because, like, why wouldn't they? I'm curious if, like, maybe it stopped production midway through and it's not finished or something like that. That's just a theory. I've never heard anything like that. But right now, I'd say HBO Max, although I don't understand, like, why it isn't just going on Adult Swim. Like, I don't know why they didn't do that. Okay. That Pedro Pascal is going to be Maxwell Lord in Wonder Woman 84, and the trailer is supposed to come out December 8th. I'm not sure why December 8th, but I had heard that sounded cool. I guess it didn't make a big thing with me. I'm sorry. That does sound cool. I think that's a good casting, to be honest. William Ellman, do you have a favorite jazz album? Mine would be The Epic by Kazmari Washington. Probably something by Miles Davis. Kind of Blue is kind of like a perfect one. Actually, you know what? I would say Love Supreme by John Coltrane is kind of one of mine. But Bitches Brew is something that I'm never going to let go of. So I'd say that would be up there. I thought that, Pedro Pascal was announced a long time ago. I see a couple of people, but they didn't say who was going to play until this week. So, what are your favorite animated movies of the 2010s? I think I might do a video on that, but I would say just loosely, Inside Out, The Illusionist, Spider-Verse. Let's just end it with those. Did you see Paul Rudd on Conan? Yes, I tweeted it, I believe. Yes, I did. I thought it was very funny. I'm glad he still does that Mac and Me thing. I think it's a funny thing that he does every time he does it. It's pretty cool. But yeah. All right, question. Thoughts on the Addams Family candy ad? I don't like it because it's in 1970. Addams Family parents said, multiply time, don't allow hate and sugar in the house. Oh, I didn't know there was a candy ad. I didn't know there was controversy about it, but I don't have any thoughts. I don't know. Paleo's going to be doing all his favorite movies, shows, and games on the 2010s. Oh, that's cool. I don't know if I'm going to do... I'm going to do some. I want to do an underappreciated movies of 2010s. I'm going to do best of 2010s and best animated films, I think. That wasn't planned. I don't have that scheduled yet. I will hopefully be doing a Lighthouse review. I'm not sure if it'll come out before Halloween or after, but I'm definitely going to see it soon and, bank that review. Close enough. That's true. Paul Rudd does conventions sometimes, so... Oh, you're going to get him to sign a Mac and Me? That's cool, Ryan. I like that. That's funny. That's very Ryan Walterson. Zane Powers, what's the biggest disagreement you have an opinion? Yeah, no. Best and worst Halloween candy. Best Snickers. And I used to really like Milky Way's worst. Probably like some of those sweet tart things. German and English translation is awful. Oh, I don't know what that's about. Is there a way Norm of the North could redeem itself in your eyes? Yeah, it could be good, I guess. That would be the only thing. Thoughts on the recent Star Wars situation? Not sure exactly what you're talking about, but I like the thing. Snickers is overrated. Damn, Paleo's got the hot takes. Paul Rudd is confirmed for Ghostbusters 3, so I'm not sure. He's definitely in Ghostbusters 3. All right, I think that'll be it for tonight. If you would like to support the show in any way, please go to my Patreon and support there. You can also go to audibletrial.com/moviecrap. It is in the description for a 30-day free trial. They have a lot of great audiobooks with interviews from animators, from Genndy Tarkovsky, to other people that I forgot, and Bob Iger's book is on there as well. If you'd like to support the show and maybe don't have the financial resources to do that, is a good way to do that, and maybe cancel it within 30 days. Anyway, yes, that's it for this week. I've had a bunch of cool videos this week, including the kind of spruced up, edited Infinity Train Shorts review, from Dusk Till Dawn review, a Happy Death Day to You review. I kind of cut up 2 videos that I shot a long time ago and never got to edit, so those came out, and a lost film file on The Shining Lost Ending, which was cool to do. Thank you all very much for coming out to the stream. I feel like the stream's gotten really kind of cool, and it was cool doing that. Thank you everyone for being there. Sorry, Zane Powers. I'll come up with something, and I don't know. Anyway, I'll thank you all very much for the support. Thank everyone for the super chats. It was very cool of you. And have a good Saturday night and have a good Halloween. Okay, I'm not going to blow it out. I thought that would be a cool ending, and I just feel like a big stupid. All right, anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you very much, and have a happy Halloween.